This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day, carefully crafted for you by humans. So meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Okay, let's start with the news. Scientists train octopuses to solve Rubik's cubes, and they're faster than humans. Is this fake or real?
Instinct tells me fake, but I'm going to go with real.
It's real.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, next one. Man legally marries his emotional support alligator.
Oh, God. If it was in Florida, I would have to say real because everyone's crazy there, of course. I'm going to go with fake on this one.
It's real. A man in Pennsylvania actually married his personal alligator. His name is Wally, and he gave him all the emotional support.
Good for him and Wally. Congratulations to them both.
Congrats. Next one. There's a new reality show that's going to put influencers on a desert island without Wi-Fi.
Influencers on a desert island without Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it's a Netflix one. They just announced it. Real or fake?
Let's go with fake.
Yeah, you're right. It's fake. No, not a reality show has not been announced, does not exist. Probably should, but not a thing.
For that, I don't think we need any more reality shows, so that's a good fake.
Yeah. And last one. Hollywood is going to remake classic films, but they're only going to use AI actors.
I'm going to have to go with fake.
Yeah, it's fake. I guess it's not that far-fetched, but fake.
I'm sure they will at some point, but I don't think they'll stop using real actors, or at least I hope not.
Yeah, no, it was fake. You did pretty well. I try to make like the craziest ones, the real ones, and like more normal ones fake. And you kind of saw right through that. So you did really well.
Apart from the alligator, I didn't pick that one, but interesting.
That was really unhinged. I didn't even know you were able to marry an alligator. Like I had to read into that because I have no idea that you could do that.
Now we know.
Guys, you have heard it. This is Angelo, and he is the founder of Sunlight Media, our guest today. And you all know the drill. Welcome to Fully Managed. This is where we discuss marketing tips, business tips, and help assist you guys in your business journeys. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's partnership coordinator. Like we said, we were with Angelo. We were just playing our game for today, fake or real, and he guessed all of the fake and real news headlines. Angelo, it's so great to have you today on the podcast. I'm so excited to film our episode.
Thanks for having me, Daniela. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to it too. Now, to get the ball rolling, we obviously already got to know each other a little bit, but I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, about Sunlight Media, everything that we need to know to introduce everyone listening or watching who is not familiar with who you are, what you do, about you and about your company.
Sure. Okay. Well, as you know, my name's Angelo. I run Sunlight Media. It's a digital marketing agency here in Los Angeles. It's been operational since 2011. We have a small team of designers and developers and digital marketing experts. Their skills range between user interface and logo design right through to web development, app development. We work with a lot of different open source frameworks, a variety of different clients, and a lot of cool projects. I set up Sunlight Media in 2011. Before that, I was just a freelancer. So I come from a music background. I was a professional musician for over 20 years, toured and traveled the world. And during that time, I was working on just little projects because As you may or may not know, there's a lot of downtime when you're a musician because there's a lot of travel involved, and oftentimes you're stuck on a plane or a bus or some form of transport with not much to do. So if you've got a laptop, you can fill your time, which I did, working on various web design projects. I worked a lot with Flash, Dreamweaver, Photoshop back in the day because they were kind of like the industry standard in building websites. And I was only really able to take on one or two projects at a time because I was working as a solo developer, and I was missing out on a lot of projects because people would contact me if I could do some, and I'd be like, well, I'll be available in a couple of weeks or a month or whatever, depending on my workload. And when I circled back to those people, they'd moved on and found someone else. So I was missing out on a lot of business. And I soon realized that, which led me to set up Sunlight Media. So I put a small team together, and now we're able to take on multiple projects because we have a bigger team in place. And my focus is really these days on business development, contracts, proposals. I do a little bit of project management, but most of the project management's handled by my senior guy, William. So that's pretty much in a nutshell.
So, Angelo, I think I talked to a lot of people who have kind of done industry changes, but I think it's really interesting to hear from you because it's usually a lot of people who are transitioning from something corporate to owning their own business. That's, I think, a very common journey that I hear a lot of people taking. But yours is really interesting because you did music for a really long time and then you transitioned into a more corporate role. Obviously not a normal corporate job, I would say, because you are not an employee as much as it's very different being an owner than an employee. But I'm curious what made you want to do that transition? What sort of drove you to that decision when you were doing that?
A number of things, like I'd mentioned previously, not being able to take on multiple projects and missing out on a lot of money was, obviously one of the factors. I also developed some back problems. So there was health issues related. And so I had a condition called military neck, which is a cervical spine issue, which caused a lot of pain. So I'm a drummer. And of course, there's a lot of body movement and you're sitting a lot. So if you're trying to play drums for 2 or 3 hours a night and you've got extreme, neck and shoulder pain, it makes it really challenging. So I was at a point where I had to, pop a bunch of painkillers before and after every gig just to get through the night. And it got to a point where this is ridiculous. I can't keep doing this. So I decided to take a year off playing drums altogether, just to focus on my back and spine issue. And I did a lot of therapy, yoga, chiropractic, acupuncture, a whole bunch of stuff, and it got better. So during that time is where I focused all my energy into setting up Sunlight Media and building a team. And then it kind of just grew organically. And I was, able to work remotely, work my own hours, more flexibility in scheduling, not having to travel as much and be out of Los Angeles and all of that stuff that comes with being a traveling musician. So it kind of just happened organically in a way, because of, health reasons. And of course, wanting to be based somewhere, like Los Angeles more permanently rather than being constantly on the run, and being able to, take on more projects.
Awesome. I think that's really inspiring for a lot of people who come from kind of creative industries where I feel like for a lot of artists who kind of I think do this for a period of their life and then they're thinking of transitioning out, it can be really scary because especially because you haven't sort of built that rapport of like getting jobs and you don't have a curriculum to sort of back you up. You have a lot of musical experience. Or artistic experience. So I think it's like your story can really be great to resonate with people who are thinking of doing that because that is a big number of people. What I'm curious about as well is with your background as a musician, I think music is a highly marketable career. Like there's a lot of marketing involved with being in music. You just, being successful, a lot of it is not all of it, but I think a lot of it comes from sort of having really good marketing. to sort of get to people to want to be interested in your music and groups and the things that you're doing. Did all of that influence the way that you were doing Sunlight Media, or did it kind of do you feel like it changed the way that you approached your business once you started your own, or do you think that it was two things that were so completely separate that could not sort of overlap?
I wasn't really involved in much of the marketing aspect of the music career because I was more or less just a hired gun. So I'd be hired to do shows and just show up and play drums. But I did learn a little bit from the management and the people running some of the bands that I was working with, and I kind of took those skills that I'd learned through them and applied it to Sunlight Media. Um, Also, in the early stages of Sunlight Media, most of my clients were music and entertainment related because they knew that I was in the business. So a lot of my early clients were musicians, music studios, production houses, video production people, that kind of stuff, more entertainment related clients. Because of the fact I was in that business, it kind of attracted those types of people. And I did websites for fellow bands and musicians as well. So that kind of, grew organically. But, a lot of the marketing stuff I kind of learned on the fly. I did study some SEO and other digital marketing kind of skills. But yeah, the music stuff for me was more or less just playing. But the creative aspect of that, building websites was also very interesting to me because it was, a creative thing that influenced the types of projects that I took on. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Flash, but Flash back in the day had some really cool interactive like video and audio playlists that you could develop, and it was fully animated. So that thing kind of got me excited because it was relative to the entertainment business because people wanted something that was interactive, especially if they were promoting music or, video production services. So unfortunately, Flash, went out of fashion, which was a good thing because that, kind of led me to learn different technology stacks, such as, WordPress and PHP and stuff that was a bit more diverse in terms of devices and so forth.
That's really interesting. What I also am curious about is how are you actually able to scale this? You mentioned that you were a small team at the beginning and you've been able to grow it consistently over the years. How was that experience of actually scaling Sunlight Media and growing it to have a bigger team and thus taking bigger projects?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge with every business, right? How do you scale and grow and get more clients, more leads, and build a team? For me, it was in the early stages, a lot of referrals and repeat business. And then I developed an interest in SEO, search engine optimization. So I figured out, how to optimize my website to gain more organic traffic through Google. And that's how it kind of grew organically through a lot of SEO, not just on the website, but on our Google business profile as well. So we currently dominate search. If you're in Los Angeles, say within a 5 to 10-mile radius of downtown, which is where our office is located, and you enter web design or web developer or website design into Google search, our Google business profile most of the time will show up in the top 3 search results. So that, SEO, organic SEO on the website and Google business profile generates a lot of leads for us. And we're also listed on a lot of business directories, in particular Clutch and UpCity, which are relative to the services that we provide. They're a directory for creative agencies. So we have a pretty strong presence on those directories as well, along with many others like, Yelp, Design Rush, Merchant Circle, a whole bunch of different directories we're listed on as well. But if I had to, kind of scale it to or pinpoint, one area where we generate most of our business, I would say it's in SEO without a doubt.
SEO is definitely something that has really come and changed digital marketing. I think a lot of the agency owners that I talk to always say, like SEO is huge. And with just the way that the internet is working right now, there's no way that you can't do it if you are being a business owner. So it's great to see you kind of being a success story of doing that, and how that has sort of been a powerful tool in growing and scaling, which I think a lot of people are scared of doing SEO because it feels intimidating and confusing. Um, for those business owners who are kind of getting started and they're not necessarily marketing savvy, they don't understand things like SEO, they don't understand things like content marketing, all of these specific terms. What is your advice for kind of getting the ball rolling and getting that started?
I would say they have to contact Sunlight Media and have us take care of their SEO needs. I would advise them either to, learn as much as they can on their own. And that necessarily doesn't mean that they have to do all of the work, but if they at least understand the fundamentals of it and what's involved, they can either do some of the work themselves, they can delegate tasks to team members, or they can hire freelancers and say, okay, well, I've done the reports and I've done the preliminary research. These are the things that I need done to my website. Can you take care of it? Or they can just go and hire an agency, but I think it's important to at least understand the fundamentals of it. So when they're talking to certain people, SEO or marketing experts, they can at least understand what they're saying, what they're proposing, and figure out if that's the best approach for them.
So I have a question for actually being, in this whole business. I think marketing agencies specifically, and just in general, these type of businesses, they're built upon client relationships. They're very important, how you sort of relate to the client, the customer, how that sort of situation develops. How has that experience been for you? I mean, you started this so long ago, then I guess you have like some knowledge and some experience of actually building a client relationship that is going to be successful and building that trust. I've come across a lot of people who are very skeptical of getting help, whether it's with freelancers or outsourcing in any way, because they kind of want to have control of everything. There's also people who have had really bad experiences with agencies, with outsourcing companies, with anything. So they are sort of approaching things from a very kind of defensive standpoint. I don't know if that's an experience that you have had, or if it's something that you run across with, but how do you actually build a client relationship where, your client trusts you, they believe what you're doing to help them, at least initially, before they kind of start to see results, to sort of know that you have their best interest in mind?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that comes down to reputation, right? If a client's smart enough, they're going to do their diligence and research the company before they even reach out. And luckily, we have a really good online reputation. So we have, I don't know what the official number is, but probably over 50, 60 5-star reviews on our Google business profile. Our Clutch and Upcity profiles have numerous positive reviews as well. So it really comes down to reputation, right? Building, establishing relationships with clients, making sure you deliver the project on time, within budget. If there are any issues, you fix it. If it's out of scope, you explain to them, look, these tasks are out of scope and it's going to cost extra. Give them a good deal on any out of scope items, and just, make sure that all their concerns, issues, and whatever they bring up are addressed within reason. You don't want to be in a situation where you're overcommitting to tasks that are out of scope, because then you're going to lose money, and that's not a good business model. But certainly promise on what you set out to achieve, and make sure that you have everything in writing so it's clear and understandable and there's no miscommunication. So I would strongly advise startups and other agencies to make sure that they have contracts and proposals in place that are clear and well defined, and that you sign off so that you don't go into situations where there's misunderstandings or scope creep or anything like that, because they can oftentimes cause issues, give you bad reviews, and, end client relationships. So our priority at Sunlight Media is to establish a long-term relationship with all our clients. And that's what we've done over the years. I've had clients for over 10, 15 years, clients that I had even before I started Sunlight Media as a freelancer have now transitioned and work with our team. So in a nutshell, it is reputation. If you've got a good reputation and you've got good reviews, the clients will stick around, new clients will come on board, and those clients will refer you to new business.
Yeah, for sure. I think like sort of being a good, having a good reputation is always going to be helpful. Do you guys have a specific kind of ideal client? Because I feel like, I don't know, at Penji, for example, we have sort of, we usually offer demo calls to potential clients, and we understand very clearly that we are not right fit for everybody. If you don't need a lot of graphic design services, it's just not going to be profitable for you to kind of do this type of service. And it's also not something that we are interested in because we want to sort of be able to give you the best value for your money. I don't know if you guys have that situation where, you analyze if a person is a right fit to work with Sunlight Media, or do you think that the way that you handle yourself in the industry feels like it's a more generalized way and everybody could kind of benefit from?
No, there's certainly, there's an ideal client for, I think, every agency. The ideal client for us is someone obviously within our budget range, because I mean, we're not extremely expensive, but at the same time, we're not cheap. So figuring out if the client has the right budget is obviously a good starting point. Then making sure that the project they're looking for is within our wheelhouse, meaning that our design and development team can take on the project. Um, Having a client that can communicate well is very important. Sometimes you get clients that are a little bit vague, that don't know what they want. We try and steer them in the right direction, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to them because maybe they're not tech savvy enough or inexperienced in what they're trying to achieve. So if none of that kind of matches up and we have problems kind of figuring out the scope of the project, then generally that client's not good for us. Or if their budget is too low and we just simply can't make it happen, then we just, have to let them go. And oftentimes I might refer them to a freelancer who might be able to work with them on a lower budget. Other times we just have to say, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, definitely. I know that you guys have also mostly worked with people from the Los Angeles area. Do you find that location is important when it comes to clients, or do you think that it's kind of what I maybe let me rephrase my question. Is it different to work with someone from, let's say, New York? If you were to, for some reason, get a potential client from New York, is it different than from someone from like Los Angeles? Is it better to kind of focus your clientele in the community that you're in, or do you think that it's doable to sort of try to branch out of?
Yeah, we certainly do branch out. I mean, we've got clients all over the world. Most of our clients, they say, are in Southern California. But we've got clients in Hong Kong, Japan. We've worked with clients in Europe, all over the world and out of state as well. I think mostly clients like to, work with local teams just for the time zone reasons. And if something goes wrong and they need to meet in person, they can come into the office and talk in, face to face. And they just sometimes like to know that it's a local team and they're not dealing with some fly by night team that's based, offshore somewhere. So yeah, majority of our clients are local, but we've certainly worked with a lot of international and out of state clients as well.
I would definitely say that when you're working with international or out of state people, you do have to sort of think about cultural differences a little bit more. Um, Time zones, like you said, are a huge thing. But also, I think just in general, understanding marketing is very cultural. So I think that you sort of, sort of understanding the culture and where the person is coming from, because the market that they're selling to is different than the one that is where you maybe are based, is probably the most important part.
Yeah, and that's really important as well. Luckily, because of all my traveling and being from out of the country as well, I kind of understand a few different cultures. But a lot of the clients, even though they may be based in Europe and Asia, most of those clients are seeking to gain exposure and business in the US, which is why they come to a US-based company like us, because they want to explore the local market. So we can kind of advise them. It's like, this approach might work for you in Japan. It's not going to work in the US. So we kind of have to let them understand how to pivot, how to market their products, how to rebrand in certain aspects as well. So that's really, a lot of the tasks that we take on is how do we take an international brand and make it work in the United States.
Amazing. I think that's probably one of the hardest things is sort of just learning how to pivot. I think most successful brands have been able to sort of change their branding based on location. And it's been great. I think this is a great note to end this podcast on, Angelo. We've had such a great conversation. But before we end it, I do want to give you the space to plug anything that you want to plug if our conversation resonated with anyone, if they would like to work with you. If you're looking for work for employees, the floor is yours for whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's looking for a great agency to market their brand, product, service, please look us up. It's sunlightmedia.org is the website. You can Google search Sunlight Media LLC. You'll see a bunch of great positive stuff. We love helping businesses expand and grow and be successful. So come hit us up. We'd love to help and get involved.
Awesome. And we'll be adding the links to your website on the description of this video. So guys, click on that link, go to the video, subscribe, follow us. Be ready for more episodes. And Angelo, it was great to have you on the podcast today.
It's been a pleasure, Daniela. Thanks for having us. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, guys. I will see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest, and to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.